Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upscale in AI.
This quote from Bob Hutchins really gets to the heart of a modern problem. For a long time, we've used these indirect signals, what he calls proxies, to judge how much effort or sincerity went into something. We valued the sweat. But now, with generative AI, that visible effort, that sweat, can be produced almost instantly. And that forces us to ask a very difficult question. How do we measure what's real anymore?
Let's make this a bit more concrete. Imagine you get an apology text from a friend, and it's perfectly written. It's articulate, it hits all the right notes, the grammar is pristine. On the surface, it's the ideal apology.
But instead of feeling relieved, you feel this slight unease. The perfection feels frictionless, almost sterile, and you might find yourself wondering, did my friend actually write this, or did an AI? That question right there, that reveals a fundamental crack in our entire system of trust.
Well, this feeling actually has a name, and it's expertly analyzed by Bob Hutchins in his article for LinkedIn, published on March 23, 2024. It's titled, "The Proxy Failure: Why the Internet and Everything Else Feels Fake." Today we're going to unpack his core argument.
So let's begin by defining this phenomenon. Hutchins argues that this growing sense that everything digital feels a little inauthentic isn't just in our heads. It's the result of a very specific, systemic breakdown.
He calls it proxy failure. And what this means is a collapse of the reliable shortcuts we use to judge human investment. The polish of a well-written email, the fluency of an argument, the time something clearly took to create. These were all proxies for care and attention. AI now completely severs the link between the final product and the human effort we used to assume was behind it.
This really illustrates the disconnect perfectly. We used to equate a deep understanding with articulate fluency. Now, that fluency can be generated without any real comprehension. We saw polished grammar as a sign of education and care. Today, it's just a software function. And maybe most importantly, we assumed thoughtful messages required emotional labor and time. Now, they can be crafted in seconds. The output looks identical, but the human cost? That has vanished.
And this isn't just some minor social inconvenience. The failure of these proxies has profound, very tangible consequences, especially in professional and academic settings where we rely on them for critical evaluations.
Let's take hiring, for instance. A carefully crafted cover letter used to be a strong signal of a candidate's genuine interest. Today, it might only prove they know how to write a good prompt. The same goes for academia. The college essay was the benchmark for assessing a student's critical thinking. Now that artifact has become decoupled from the intellectual process that was supposed to give it all its value.
As Hutchins puts it, the surface no longer reliably indicates the depth. The apology text, the cover letter, the essay, they all look the same as they used to, but the engine driving them is fundamentally different. Our instruments for social and professional measurement are, quite simply, failing us. But this isn't an endpoint. It's a point of inflection. It's a call for us to recalibrate our instincts. Major technological shifts have always scrambled the relationship between effort and output. This one just happens to be scrambling something deeply personal, our signals for human trust. And here's the crucial point. Value isn't being destroyed in this process. It's being relocated. It's retreating from the easily faked surface and moving toward qualities that are much harder, if not impossible, to generate artificially. So, if the old proxies are failing us, where do we look for the new signals? Well, the answer seems to require a fundamental shift in our attention, away from sterile polish and toward genuine human presence.
First, we have to start elevating the physical and the frictional. A live conversation, with all its organic pauses and little imperfections, actually contains far more data about a person than a flawless text. Second, we must prioritize behavior over time. A single perfect artifact means much less than a consistent pattern of action. And third, we need to learn to value human quirks, the unique phrasing, the odd digressions, the very asymmetries that optimized systems are designed to eliminate.
This is really the core thesis of the solution. Our focus has to shift away from the isolated artifact, the email, the essay, the text, and onto the integrity of the relationship with the person who created it.
The meeting was never truly in the perfect sentence by itself. We just had the luxury of assuming it was. Now we're being forced to see the bigger picture. The value lives in the history, the context, and the character of the person behind the words.
And that leaves us with a final, very clarifying question. In a world where a perfect performance of effort can be mass-produced for free, what becomes truly priceless? Perhaps it's consistency, accountability, and the courage to show up in our own imperfect human voice.
Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning of this video to buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. We encourage you to subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. Please like, comment, and share to help us reach a wider audience.